welcome to another episode of Atomic Vinyl Reviews. And today, it's the big day. It is literally the 30th of May, about 9:30 in the morning, and I am about to leave to go see the second Godzilla film in Legendary's Monsterverse, Godzilla King of the Monsters! Oh my god. So I'm ready here. I've got my Godzilla toy, because that's what a grown man brings to a movie, right? A Godzilla toy. And I got my Godzilla shirt, and I'm just super excited. I'm really, really hoping it's good. So this video is going to be my sort of initial reaction to my first viewing of this film. I'm really curious what it's going to be like, but yeah. I'm going to do like basically a spoiler-free reaction. I just let my emotions flood out, and then I'm going to see the film a couple more times and do a full spoiler-filled review in another video. And I actually watched Godzilla 2014 last night for the first time in a long time. And, I actually realized I have a lot to say about the film, more so than a lot of the negative stuff I've been saying, so I think I'll be able to do the most balanced review of that film possible since, probably for the first time since when I actually watched it in 2014. So I think I should do that. So expect all those videos to be coming out really soon. But yeah, thanks so much for checking this out. Wish me luck. Let me know what you thought of the movie. I'll be saying the same stuff at the end of the video again. But yeah, I'm gonna cut away, maybe show you a few photos of the cinema and just some like establishing shots and stuff like that, and then I will give you my initial reaction to this new Godzilla movie starring Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, and my favorite, Rodan. Oh yeah, let's go. I am back, and pardon me if I'm a little drowsy during this part, because I'm actually filming this bit quite a lot later in the evening, same day. But after the movie, I spent a while out in the city, and I got home, was really hungry, and had to nap for a while. But it's like about 8 or 9 in the evening now, and I figured, I really need to get this video out to you guys. So, bear with me on that if I'm stumbling with words and stuff like that, because, yeah, there's a lot to get through in this movie. Oh my god. First of all, the Yankees, they bloody did it. It may have taken them 3 bloody tries and a couple of decades, but they finally made a good Godzilla movie. Not just good, it was amazing. I'm not kidding. Like, the whole experience of seeing this film was just like, from the very beginning, like, this is a minor spoiler, not really a spoiler I'd say at all, but it opened up, you hear Godzilla's roar, and it's the actual Godzilla's roar. It's not this, hold on. It's not the 2014 roar, it was the actual Toho classic Godzilla roar. And oh my god, just from that point onwards, the film just, I was kept thinking, okay, is it going to disappoint me now? Are they going to do something dumb? But no, I'm just sitting there going, you know what, I'm enjoying this. Oh my god, it's just good. It's just good in so many aspects. Now, I know probably looking at it critically in a little while, you might be able to pick and choose a couple of things to nitpick about here and being like, okay, well, that's a bit of a coincidence or convenient, blah, 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 all of that. But just as a movie-going experience and as a visual experience and as a monster movie genre film, this thing's solid, and the experience was, I'm not, it's just not even just me. I went with my girlfriend who's not even into kaiju and monster movies that much, but she's a big movie fan, and she said this is one of the best films she's ever seen, and I am right there with her. So yeah, I think they really knocked it out of the park, and I know I'm just getting to my conclusion. Normally I talk about a bunch of little details in the film and then get to the conclusion, but this video is sort of my reaction, and I had to start off with that because yeah, they really did good. oh, what to get into? I'm gonna try and keep this non-spoilerific, but I'll just say the I'll just talk about the tone of the film and just how they handled various aspects without getting into, the details. With my first major thing is, for the you've been following my channel, I have always had issues with the 2014 film. Um, I've had very mixed feelings on this movie since the first time I watched it. It left me impressed with, and in awe of a lot of things it did really well, and then it shot itself in the face by things that were blatantly obvious that people with this level of cinematic skill would just glide over and not do good at all, and and so I've just had this inner conflict about that film, um, and this film, in the, sorry, in that film, one of my big issue things with that one was Godzilla's design as well as his presence in the movie. I didn't feel like that Godzilla should. The design they went with did not feel like Godzilla at all to me, and even though I really really loved that design and figures like this big chunky NECA Godzilla 2014, the deluxe figure, even though I love this thing, and think the design is really cool as a monster design, it just wasn't Godzilla. And this King of the Monsters, it swayed me over. It did it. It really made me realize that having that roar there, as well as I don't know if this is a spoiler either. It's about as much a spoiler as them using the roar, so not really a plot spoiler, but at all. So don't worry. But they used a lot of Godzilla's classic themes, the dun 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 dun, all of that, and it was magnificent. The whole score was really good on this one. Um, uh, I'll talk about this more in my full, review once I actually watch it a couple more times, because I'm gonna watch the hell out of this film. It was an experience. But um, I'm going to talk about sort of the music between the two films, 2014 and this one. 2014, the music was good. I really like a lot of that tribal drumming and stuff that they put in there. And then it did have that 50s sci-fi B-movie vibe to it in a lot of the main themes. But they didn't have any of the Toho music in there. It didn't quite have the same impact as this score. The score in this film made it feel even more grand. They basically took what 2014 did well and accentuated it and put it into a structure where there was no what do you say? The movie didn't sag at any points in the same way that 2014 did very much heavily throughout almost all the film after Cranston's characters died. Um, but yeah, I should stop talking about 2014 actually, because um, I will do a proper review of that one and this film, where I'll cover those in a lot more depth. Um, but yeah, the reviews that the initial sort of thing saying this film was everything 2014 wasn't is really on point. That is so true. Um, and all that stuff about this being like a monster opera, really grand, the way that like King Ghidorah will like blow your mind, and all of this sort of stuff, all of that is also true. When the whole viewing spectacle of this thing, this is the probably the film where the monsters genuinely looked the most massive, and there was a lot of that action, and it was very well paced. There was a very good amount of human story and monster story. None of it felt like it was filler or like there was too much monster action going on. It all felt visceral. It was just such a surprise, because like I went into this hoping that it just wouldn't be bad. Um, in the same way that, just wouldn't be disappointing in the, the same way that 2014 was. So I had my bar set fairly low. Not to mention, I saw a post like earlier on one of the Godzilla pages I run, on the Australian Godzilla fans page, where I just kind of briefly scrolled down and I read a thing saying the results are in, Godzilla bombed, or King of the Monsters bombed, or something like this. And I was like, oh shit, does that mean it's bad? And then I like quickly turned off the page and decided not to go on Facebook until the movie comes out for a couple of days. Um, Turns out that now I looked at it today, and that post was posted there by a chap on that page who I know pretty well, and he really, really hates the American Godzilla or anything to do with it. He wasn't planning on seeing this film, so it was a bit of a biased a thing that he would just find the first negative post about that film and just post it around. So he doesn't. So I bet he hasn't even seen the film or anything like that. So that's the deal with that one. I think this film isn't gonna bomb at all. I think this is probably I this is should be like the best film of the year. I completely side with that because the viewing experience of this film, and like I said, it wasn't just me. Um, my girlfriend there, who's completely not into her kaiju or anything, also totally agreed that it was one of the best ones she's ever seen. So this one, so all those people saying that Godzilla was gonna like top Avengers Endgame and all that stuff, I was honestly skeptical because I'm a big fan of the Avengers movies, even though I I'll never talk about them on this channel. There's a lot of I'm a big movie guy, but there's a lot that I don't bring up on this channel. I like to keep it as monster based as I can. So I try and not really put in all the superhero things to sort of fluff up the channel because I really want to keep it as focused as I can. I mean, I will do the odd thing here and there, like I did Detective Pikachu just the other day. I really only posted that video the day before King of the Monsters came out because I'm like, oh shit, when King of the Monsters comes out, I'm gonna have to post the Detective Pikachu video sometime because I filmed it earlier on. I'm gonna have to post it sometime either now before I get into King of the Monsters or during the big hype train that will be the post King of the Monsters next couple of months. So I figured that I'd better post it now because it's gonna get lost in all that other stuff. And it's close to the release of that film. But I don't know why I'm getting to that. Um, so yeah, the point that I was making is that yeah, they really knocked this one out of the park in those aspects. The the characters in this film, I'd say, were done really well. There's nobody in this film that I just saw there and thought, okay, why are you in this? Why are we following you? No, there's nobody that I disliked in the characters. Even there's the random characters that just got like very few lines, like the little side characters. They didn't seem oddly tacked on and just like, okay, this is a strange person that's just kind of given the moment for a second and then they're gone, which kind of I felt like happened a lot in 2014 as well. Probably going to keep comparing this to 2014, aren't I? I just can't help myself. Um, but yeah, all the characters, I think they pulled it off brilliantly. The story was cohesive. If you really sort of like this movie isn't this movie is like a summer blockbuster, like one of them on the same level kind of films as like the Marvel the Marvel movies in that sort of tone, but this one might be a little bit darker. But you're not gonna get like Citizen Kane out of the character story in like a Monster Bash movie. What this movie is a modern Monster Bash movie that takes the best advantages of all of modern technology to give us the sort of most basically just what people have been wanting to see Hollywood do for Godzilla movie. It's like um, putting all of that together, getting a plot that is cohesive and has emotional investment in it, and just putting that all together and pacing it out really well, giving us just a fun time. And like I said, the monsters looked phenomenally big. And the best way to view this movie, which I'd recommend with any sort of kaiju movie, is when you're going to see them in the cinema, don't sit right at the back of the cinema, kind of looking down at the screen. Um, the screen's kind of smaller. Like I like that with some films, and I often sit at the back of the cinema. But if you can, don't even sit like right in the middle. Sit where you're facing with your face about a third up the screen, somewhere between a third and a quarter up. Not so you have to really bend your neck, but you know, if you go to a cinema that's kind of nice and long and you can sit pretty comfortably facing straight, but you still kind of got to look up, so you got this big screen in front of you. That is the best way to watch a film like this if you want to get like an impact of, oh my god, this kaiju action is massive. I luckily I knew the cinema pretty well going in, and that it's a very long like cinema hall. So we booked our tickets to be like in that zone, and it was totally made like the biggest difference. So, um, and generally I find that films are a lot more epic, viewing them a little bit closer to the front. But again, don't like sit right at the front and have to watch the movie like this, where those seats that like nobody wants to sit in because they're awkwardly facing like where you have to literally look up to see the screen in some cinemas. I'm not saying to do that, but you get my point. But I'll talk more about like Godzilla, how um, I wasn't, because that's what I just remember that was what I was talking about. How I wasn't sold on the character in 2014. They gave him so much more presence in this film. Because rewatching Godzilla 2014, my like one of my biggest gripes with it is like, I know people have said lots of stuff about like complaining to those people who say Godzilla doesn't have enough screen time, but honestly Godzilla is almost has no presence in that film outside of the screen time. They basically don't he's sidelined in his own film so much, and it really shows, especially after seeing this film. But even though I had a lot more positive things to say about 2014, which I'll get to in my full review of that after watching it last night, I actually sort of enjoyed a lot more aspects of it. The biggest thing was um, it shouldn't have been called Godzilla, because it should have had a subtitle, Godzilla the something of the something, because this film, Godzilla King of the Monsters, is really aptly titled. It feels fitting. Godzilla actually is integral to this more than just being like something that fights at the end. Um, you sort of follow him through a lot of the film. All the monsters in this were really well done. Well, I did a video recently where I talked about my like what knew would be good about this film, what I was pretty sure would be bad in this film or heavily worried about, and what I was hoping for. And this film did those things that I thought it would do, that were really good about this film. It did them, and it exceeded them, because the things that I was worried about this film were, one was the color grading. I thought in the trailers, because that list was made based off what I'd seen in the trailers, but in the trailers, the color grading in the shots they chose was all very particular, strongly colored, either a strong blue hue or a orange orangey hue, because there were certain parts in this film that tended to have that sort of coloration or coloring. And when you watch the whole film, tonally it's very nice, and I didn't have a problem at all with the color grading. I think they did it really well. There was more than just the color that used in those shots. It is a stylized film, so the coloring isn't completely lifelike, but it all fits with the tone, and they did it, and it looks like they did it with natural sort of lighting more than just sort of tinting the whole film cell, if that makes sense to you, sort of film guys out there. Even though it was probably filmed digitally, but digital sound, just photo tinting the whole film with a color. They didn't do that as much as they had, various lighting going on in the backgrounds of different colors. And that's what I wanted to see, and it looked pretty good, and it was all sort of dark, and a lot of it was dark and foggy as well, like the 2014 film, but they did brighten it up, and they didn't hide as much of it unnecessarily. The fogginess and the darkness actually, I think, was handled a lot better in this film. The next thing I was worried about was Mothra's design and her sort of hideous hind legs. I stand by that design doesn't have very good legs. They designed it really awkwardly when you look at the figures. However, in the actual film, you don't see that at all, because the shots that they have, full body shots of Mothra, are either done from a distance or through fog or just very quick. What you really see is you get her perched up on things and you just see those front claws a lot of the time. You don't see the weird legs, and I was overall really happy with Mothra's design. Actually, she looked really cool in the film, and I hope we get to see more of her. Um, and yeah, and still talking about jumping back to Godzilla's design again. Um, I really love the changes they made to him. I know I said this just based off the toys in the trailers already, but seeing the spines on him was fantastic. The proper spines. You don't see much of like his feet, or you see this at the end of his tail sometimes. Um, but he just feels like a different monster. Especially with that roar. Like thinking back to the 2014 film, he really feels like a different monster. I am still not happy with like the fact that his face has like that Barney the dinosaur look to it, where he has this rounded snout which he doesn't really have a Godzilla face. I do feel like they improved his eyes a little bit. They might not be bigger as such, maybe just a hint, but they gave him brighter eyes. They have more personality to them, and they're sort of less beady looking than they were in 2014. But yeah, as much as I still don't really like the weird snout that he has on him, which honestly, rewatching 2014, the first time he shows up at the Honolulu um, airport scene, when you see his face, I think, oh, it looks like Barney, which I remember myself honestly thinking the first time I saw the movie in theaters. Um, so that's kind of funny. It's still just so hard to unthink. Um, but yeah, I keep jumping back to Godzilla because I'm so happy that they actually made him feel like Godzilla, at least just enough that it's like, yeah, because I've been waiting years for them to look at this design and have some semblance of it being Godzilla. But yeah, the music and the roar they did it. Um, what's next? With what I was hoping for in this film, I remember a couple of them. One of them was Easter eggs. We do have a lot of Easter eggs in this film. Um, a lot that I probably didn't even notice, but I did notice a lot. One that's not really a spoiler that I'll just bring up. All this sort of Monarch bases, they're numbered in this film, and if you notice, the numbers of the bases are numbered according to the monster. The when the movie first came out of the particular monster that they're sort of guarding or associated with. So the base that they're running, observing Godzilla throughout this film, is their base 54, And the one where Rodan is located, which I don't think it's a spoiler, that's that bloody volcano that we see him literally coming out of in the trailers. Uh, that is the 56, base 56, and so on and so forth. So that's a little trailer hint in there. Um, oh man, um, I was hoping that they would have Mothra fairies in here, and so this is might get a bit spoilery. I'm going to try and keep it as unspoilery as I can, but I will say they actually did hint at the Mothra fairies maybe being a thing, so that I really loved. I'll talk about more about that in my full review. Um, and the last thing that I can remember is I was hoping that Ghidorah, or Monster Zero, as they call him through the first part of this film, I was hoping his origin would be the same as the Showa Ghidorah, where he is a space monster. And minor spoiler, yeah, they kind of drop that this guy's probably not of this Earth. So it is yeah, they basically have aliens confirmed in the legendary MonsterVerse, which is awesome because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, this series is too grounded to have aliens, and because like that was the whole motto thing for the 2014 film. They try to make it very grounded, which worked for some aspects, not for some others. But I'm glad they're embracing some of this kind of more weirder stuff in there. And the way these films are progressing, I'm really enjoying because, we start off with 2014. That one has some really good aspects, but some terrible ones as well. Then we get a film like Kong, which is like, you know what, we're not going to take ourselves too seriously. We just want to have a fun monster movie. And they actually managed to give us some real entertainment that way. And then you got this film where they put those together and you have something with a really serious tone, really sort of dark, but and monumental, like feeling like the 2014 film, but it's fun all the way through, and the action is bloody awesome. Um, so yeah, this video is probably going a bit longer than I expected, so I'm going to cut off here, even though I could keep talking, getting into more detail about more things, and probably if I made this filmed this right after watching it sooner, I would have had even more to touch on because there's so many things that I kept picking up. Oh my god, I have to do about that and that and that and that. But yeah, watching this film was such a good experience. I honestly haven't had this much fun watching a film in a long time. Thank you, Michael Doherty, or whatever the director's name is. You pulled it off, man. Rock on. I want to see. I before cutting this video off, I just want to say, Godzilla vs Kong, or Kong vs Godzilla, whatever they're calling it. It's gonna be a very short movie. Um, based on how Godzilla was in this film. Oh man, that ape's gonna fry. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have seen the movie, let me know what you thought in the comments below. How does this one rate? What do you think of sort of the whole dynamic between 2014 and this film as well? And yeah, just tell me what you think about this movie, because I'm really dying to hear you guys' opinions. And from this point, I'm probably going to dive into some movie reviews, because I've been holding off really hard on any movie reviews since I got home after seeing this, because I wanted this to be totally my fresh opinion. I might even see it one more time before diving into those reviews, actually. It's so hard because I love when I'm so hyped about something, I really love discussing it with people, and watching online reviews is kind of a semi-good, semi-way of getting to that feeling, if that makes any sense. But yeah, go down in the comments, do that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and all that jazz. And yeah, aren't you just so happy we got a film like this finally? This is what people have been waiting for. So yeah, may all your vinyl be radiated vinyl. Over and